The thing about this stop, before we get to the race, as you know, better than anybody, this is what they do. They try to inject race into everything, everything. Even if you're a black man, as you know, they'll say it's about race. But this video, I think the police chief nailed it. It's shocking. It's horrifying. It lacks humanity. And you look at it, and your first instinct as a normal person is not to try to racialize it, but to say, where's their humanity? What kind of a human can do this to another human? Let's just stay with tape 1, which I just showed. And for the listening audience, it shows that the cops are amped up right from the get-go about Tyre. I mean, right from the get-go. They immediately pull him over. They're yelling right away with guns drawn. Motherfucker, get out of the fucking car. The guy's saying, I didn't do anything. Get your ass down. Get on the effing ground. He says, I'm on the ground. He keeps telling him, I'm on the ground. And for the listening audience, you can see he is on the ground. It's like the police, it looks like they were looking for some sort of confrontation, Larry.
Right. I mean, how much on the ground can you be when you're on the ground? Look, let's stipulate that this is horrible. Let's stipulate these cops got what they deserved. I haven't talked to a single person. I haven't talked to a single cop, I know a lot of them, who says there's any way, shape, or form that this is justified. But let's stipulate to that. The question is, how do you turn this into race? As you pointed out, 5 of the cops are black. The police chief is black. And Michelle Obama weighed in, Barack Obama weighed in, said this is a painful reminder. Al Sharpton said something to the effect of just because they're all black doesn't mean it can't be racial. Van Jones said something very similar. A critical race theory law professor at Columbia named Kimberly Crenshaw said this is about structural racism, that the police target communities of color. Hold the phone. If it doesn't matter what race the cop is, if a cop does something bad, it's still racial, then why in the world, Megyn, are we out trying to diversify police force? Why do we have lines like we want a police force that looks like the community? Apparently, it doesn't matter. Doesn't it say the goal should be good cops? And to raise another question about these cops, I don't think any of them had more than 3 years of experience. Wonder whether or not the Memphis police is having manpower issues, in part because of Black Lives Matter has so discredited the police. Nobody wants to join the force. People are retiring early. They're transferring to smaller, less confrontational police departments. Maybe, just maybe, Memphis lowered standards in order for diversity and because of all the problems caused by people castigating the police. Now, regarding what Crenshaw said, the police are targeting communities of color. Well, unfortunately, communities of color is where the crime is. And isn't that where you want the police officers? At 13% of the population, blacks commit almost half of the homicides in this country. Almost all of the victims are also black. In the 75 largest counties in America by population, blacks account for 60% of the shootings and 60% of the robberies. That's why the cops are there. You want them to deploy their finite resources to West Palm Beach, to Beverly Hills, to Malibu? It doesn't make any sense. And let's have a little perspective here. Out of 61 million contacts with the police in 2020, according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, the police killed 1,000 people. That's 0.002%. Almost all of them were resisting arrest, usually with a gun or with a knife. It is rare for the police to kill anybody, let alone an unarmed person, let alone an unarmed black person. By the way, in the last 5 years, the police have averaged killing 39% more unarmed whites. Can you name one? Of course not, because nobody cares if it's an unarmed white person. Van Jones doesn't come in. CNN doesn't come in. Joy Reid doesn't comment. Nobody gives a rip when it's an unarmed white person, even though the police kill more unarmed white people every year than they kill unarmed black people. But let's have a little bit of perspective, shall we?
Yeah, well, that's not in abundance, listening to the pundits this weekend who like to just pour gasoline on the fire. I mean, there's so many people. It wasn't just Van Jones. And by the way, I don't know what's happening to Van Jones. It's like he used to be sort of a voice of reason sometimes on some of these controversies. And over the past 10 years.
No, he wasn't. He never has been. And I'll tell you something else, Megyn. I interviewed a guy named Isaac Kriegman. He used to be a data scientist with Thomson Reuters. His job was to do data. Harvard Law School. And he wrote a paper. Initially, he supported Black Lives Matter and then did a study and found out that because of the so-called Ferguson effect, some people now call it the George Floyd effect, people are pulling back, they're becoming more passive. So he documented what he called excess deaths. In other words, deaths that otherwise would not have taken place had the police been engaging in their normal proactive policing. Thousands of them in just 5 cities alone. So it's not just a lie that the police are engaging in systemic racism. It's a lie that has real world consequences. I remember Mayor Rahm Emanuel of Chicago. He even said that because of the accusations false that the police were engaging in systemic racism after the death of a man named Laquan McDonald, the police had, quote, rolled themselves up into a fetal position, close quote. And as a result, homicides have gone up. And finally, getting back to what Professor Crenshaw said, it is a fact, unfortunately, that a young black man, young being defined as young as 10, as old as mid-30s, a young black man is 13 times more likely to be murdered than a young white man. Almost always the murderer is another young black man. That's why the police are there. That's why the cops are deployed in communities of color, Ms. Crenshaw.
It wasn't just Kimberly Crenshaw, who's like the critical race theory guru. Plenty of others weighed in with similar sentiments. Here's just a sampling of some of it in SOT 16.
But I think race is still on the table. When a culture of policing historically has treated those from different groups differently, even when the individuals are from that same group, that culture can still exist.
That is part of the training that these officers receive, that black and brown equals danger. This comes at a time when the governor of Florida says no African-American AP classes, when we have demagoguery around critical race theory.
So it is nonsense that black and brown officers have not been part of the problem of systemic racism and policing.
I'm about to educate some people right now. The vicious, brutal, unjustified extrajudicial killing of Tyre Nichols is as a result of a police system that is built on white supremacy. White supremacy underpins the policing and criminal justice system. There is a systemic reality of white supremacy that produces racist white cops and racial gatekeeping black and brown cops, okay? And their representation is to represent white supremacy, not people of their own race.
Got it, Larry? It's the system of white supremacy produces racist white cops and racial gatekeeping black and brown cops. That's what they were, racial gatekeeping black and brown cops.
Megyn, pass the Advil. I've got a headache. Here are the facts. There is a Harvard economist named Roland Fryer, happened to be black. He's from the inner city in Baltimore. And he just knew, because of these high-profile deaths, whether it's Michael Brown in Ferguson or Freddie Gray in Baltimore, or Laquan McDonald in Chicago, the young man who was hurling the replica gun in Cleveland. He just knew the cops were murdering black people just because they were black. He did a study. He said the findings were the most shocking of my professional career. Not only were the police using deadly force against blacks because they were black, he found out that the police are more hesitant, more reluctant to pull the trigger on a black suspect than a white suspect. There was a long article, April 27, 2016, in the Washington Post, going back over decades, where they'd done these simulation shootings. And again, the cops were more hesitant, more reluctant to pull the trigger on a black suspect than a white suspect. If anything, white people have something to moan about because the police are slightly more likely to pull the trigger on them than a similarly situated black suspect. It is a lie. Again, the lie is not just a normal lie. You believe a lot of stupid stuff, so what? This lie is getting people killed because it's altering the behavior of the cops and it's altering the behavior of suspects, especially young black suspects. If you believe you get pulled over by a cop, this cop is likely to brutalize you, why should you comply? And there's a through line with all of these deaths, Megyn, and the through line is this. Virtually every single one of them would have been avoided had the suspect complied. Now, again, you're a young black man, you're listening to Michelle and Barack Obama, to Al Sharpton, to Van Jones. Why should you comply? After all, they're out to kill you. And as a result, something that would have been a low-level traffic stop turns into something very deadly.
Except this poor guy. It does not look like we can say that happened in the case of Tyre Nichols. It looks like he was complying. They were accusing him of not complying. But as you point out, how much more can you lie down when you're already lying down? And then he ran. But do you agree, like when that guy ran, who could blame him? They were beating the hell out of him already. The guy was running for his life. Like many people, I am trying to eat healthier, and that is why I love good olive oil. And by good, I mean fresh. Olive oil packs the most flavor and the healthiest nutrients when it's fresh from the farm. That's the problem with the supermarket olive oils. They're not fresh. They can sit on the shelf for months growing stale. I just had this experience. Okay, stand by. I'm going to tell you about it. This is why I like my olive oil direct from small, award-winning farms thanks to a guy named TJ Robinson, also known as the olive oil hunter. This stuff is amazing. When I first tasted TJ's farm fresh oils, I fell in love with their amazing, vibrant flavors. They are delicious on everything that you use olive oils for. Salad, veggies, pasta, meat, fish, you name it. Now, I use olive oil. I make my own little salad dressing. You know I can't cook, but I make my own little salad dressing just because I don't want all the hateful eight in my dressing. And the one thing you have to have is good olive oil. Well, I ran out of TJ's. And so you know what I did? It's Harvest Fresh now. But you know what I did? I bought from the supermarket. And what else was I going to do? Couldn't call TJ. I don't know him just because he advertises here. And I could taste the difference. And not only that, my kids asked, did you do something different on the salad? I was like, no, I'm telling you, there is a difference when it's fresh pressed. And that is why TJ created the Fresh Pressed Olive Oil Club, which I clearly have fallen behind in and need to get on. And you should too. Thanks to this, and as an introduction to this club, TJ is going to send you a full-size $39 bottle worth of one of the world's finest artisanal olive oils for just $1 to help him cover shipping. See if you taste the difference. And best of all, there's never a commitment to buy anything, and you can cancel your membership at any time. Get your free $39 bottle for just $1 shipping and taste the difference freshness makes. Go to harvestfreshnow.com. harvestfreshnow.com for a free bottle and pay just that $1 in shipping. harvestfreshnow.com. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.